YouTube, oh good, it worked. Crashes sometimes. Okay, welcome to my live. I do 30 minutes on Instagram, then I do 30 minutes on TikTok. I'm going to be changing, in that I'm going to be changing the time. I'm going to have Thursday and Tuesday nights the same time. It's going to be earlier. What I realized is if I do a later live like I'm doing tonight, that's my whole evening out of commission. So what I'm going to do is more around 4:30 or 5. So I'll write that down in the link after tonight. I'll change the times. Did I write that down? Yes, I did. Okay, so this is the last time this late, unless I just turn up. Sometimes I just turn up. I never know when. Okay, I how to potty train my 2-year-old boy. I have a whole course on that. It's very involved. So check out the course. It's just one of my mini toddler courses. Anyway, what was I going to say? I can't remember. Oh, sugar. Can't remember. Anyway, okay. Anyway, I'm Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go in the link above, you'll see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, and my coaching. It's all linked in the link above. So let's get going with your questions now, and I'll do my best to answer as many as possible. And then I do 30 minutes on here, and then I move over to TikTok for 30 minutes. And YouTube is the whole hour. Okay. So... oh God, someone asked me a question. I do look like a burglar. Yeah, I'm just gonna put my mask. You should have seen me. I used to dress like this and then also have a mask on for, the pandemic. So it was quite frightening. Quite threatening. Nothing like a 63-year-old burglar with a sore back. Shoot, what was I gonna say? Someone just asked me a question. I hate answering it. But I'm gonna anyway, because you asked. It's my least favorite question on here, and I get it quite often. How to stop my 1-year-old from hitting my pets? If you can't protect your animals, find them another home. There's no way I would have an animal getting hurt in my home. My kids, I always had dogs in the house and birds, and my kids learned really young. You don't go near them and they never were allowed to pick up the dog. Unless they were sitting on the couch and I put the dog in their lap and then I supervised. I'm an animal lover, and there's no way I would allow an animal to be hurt. So yeah, if you can't separate and find a safe place for the pets to be, rehome them. So that's why I hate answering that question. Such an awful, and some of my clients have actually done that. They've actually got rid of their pets. They realize they can't protect them. Not all kids hit. They either are going to hit or they're not. They're either going to have tantrums or they're not. They're either going to climb or they're not. The fourth one is they're either going to run. They don't look behind to see where you are. They just take off in traffic. They're either going to run or they're not. Hitting is one of those 4. They're born to do it or they're not. They're either going to be rough or they're not. So yeah, if you've got rough kids, I don't think I'd have animals around. They'll eventually learn to be good, but in the meantime, the poor animal. Getting kids up early in the AM for school without pushback. I will have it's on my list of things to do, which a lot of things are. My school morning routine course, I'll have that done hopefully by the new year. Anyway, the school morning routine, basically put it up on the behavior board. Put down, follow school morning routine. And then you have a whole routine and they can actually earn something. There can be incentive in that. So you can say, look, if you get all this done, everything's by the front door, wherever your back door, wherever you have to leave from, and just say if everything's done, then you can have 10 minutes on the iPad or whatever. So have an incentive program. My kids, I have no memory of ever telling my kids to do homework, go to bed, or get ready for school. They just knew. You just do it. They just kind of learn. So you get into a real routine. And also they knew if they got ready for school, they whipped around, got everything done, then they'd sit down and watch TV because they knew they could. So it would only maybe be 5 minutes, and that's fine. So yeah, they learned at a very young age, you got to do what you need to do before you can do what you want to do. Like my kids never would have got TV if they hadn't done their chores. So they learned from a very young age to do what they needed to do before they could do what they want to do. A lot of adults should learn that. That's just a real good self-discipline thing. Sometimes people say to me, do you know anything about older kids? Because everyone asks me about toddlers, especially on Instagram. I asked about toddlers. I specialize in teenagers. That's how I started my business, was teen crisis work. And but yeah, I notice online it's mostly parents of toddlers because you're new parents and you're searching out answers because toddlers are crazy. It's one of the craziest ages you'll ever go through, and unfortunately, you get it really early on. So yeah. But yeah, I do. If you have older kids and you're on here, my favorite age is teenagers. I specialize in teenagers. But I talk about all ages. If you can handle teenagers, you can talk about any age. Um, yeah. Oh, you got a bossy 2-year-old? Yeah, just ignore it. Like, so what if they tell you not to sing? Just keep singing. There's no way. And he might try and scream it out. I would just go in the other room and sing or something. But yeah, he's testing you. He's just saying, are you a leader or am I? You want to learn to do that. Okay, someone asked me on YouTube how you get toddlers to eat healthy foods. I'm not a doctor or nutritionist, so I'm not qualified to talk about it. But what I will tell you is what I did with my kids. Okay, I'm allowed to say that. So, I mean, I could say the other two, but I just don't feel qualified for that. So anyway, what I did with my own kids, I'm a real health food nut. So, and I made everything from scratch, and I hate cooking, but I did it anyway. So I made everything from scratch, and I had pureed spinach and all sorts of ground seeds in everything. So, and I never had junk food. So, and there was no ice cream waiting for them in the freezer if they didn't eat their dinner. So they only had two options: this healthy food or that healthy food. They just learned, you know. It's just the way it was. The funny thing is, I remember the first time my son ever had real pizza. Like, I made everything from scratch, and he had real pizza, and he came home and he goes, the sauce was really weird. It was red because they weren't pureeing spinach and putting it in their homemade pizza sauce. So yeah, I just had nothing but healthy food in the house, and that's the only options they had. No one wants to follow that advice, and I'm not saying you should, but that's what I did. It's not advice. It's just relaying what I did. I was just talking to someone today, and they were saying, because they were asked, I don't talk about this really on here because you don't care, but I'm very radical with my health and fitness. And then they said, and when I told them how I eat, which is weird, and then they said, yeah, but you have to have cheat days. And I said, well, that implies that I'm not happy with the way I eat. I love the way I eat. I don't have cheat days. So, but she just didn't like that at all. Oh, well, everyone needs cheat days. Okay, fine. Thought that was funny. And I sometimes eat potato chips. Yeah. Now, if I eat potato chips, it's once every couple of months. I don't just eat a little bag of potato chips. I get a big family size bag. Then I'm grossed out for 2 days. So there you go. Yeah, I guess I have cheat days, but not really. Okay. How to correctly implement consistent corrective actions with a toddler. Correctly implement them. That's fancy. Too many examples. Let's say they throw a toy. You say no, and you just put that toy away. They hit with a toy. You say no, put that toy away. They're getting into stuff they're not supposed to get into. You take them away, and you hold them away, and you say no, and you just restrain them. You don't look at them or talk to them. It's always actions. They learn through actions. The thing is, if you're not consistent, it's useless. They're going to remember the times you didn't do that. So you have to pick a battle, pick something you're going to correct. Maybe it might take a whole week, but you got to pick one battle usually per week that you're going to correct. Because if you were correcting everything, anyway, I'll read out my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers, which makes your life easier with toddlers. Just a sec. Oh, goodness. I have a whole ton of videos backed up waiting to be downloaded. Okay. Some of them are really good. Some of them I get bored with some of my videos, but some of them I got a couple I really like. Okay, my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. And they're good ones. It used to be 3 tips, then it was 7, now it's 5. And I've kept it at 5 for about 6 months now, maybe. Okay, these are my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. Number 1, childproof your home so you never have to say no. Number 2, set up a toy rotation system so they're never bored. Number 3, you connect with your toddler by entering their world. You don't take them to the nail salon to connect with them. You go to the park and roll down the hill with them. Number 4 is very similar. You start exercising your leadership by disciplining them with actions, consistent corrective actions, and you stop with the mini therapy sessions because actions are their world. So you connect with them in their world and you discipline them in their world. Okay, they're all about actions. And then number 5 is the most important one with parenting toddlers. Stop trying to figure them out. They're not figure-outable. They're not formed yet. They're brand new, fresh human beings. They've only been in the world for a couple of years. And the first year, they were just a potato laying on a mattress. They've got one marble and some tumbleweed floating around in there. They're brand new. Some of them might even go like this, smear poop on the wall. They're not figure-outable. So just go with it. Go with it. Easier said than done. I know. I love this story that I tell. It makes me look like a bad mother, which you would love. But anyway, yeah, I really messed up once with my son when he was little. And it's just such a long story, but it's the one where he was throwing rocks over the fence. I don't know if you're a regular, you would have heard that. It's just such a long story. That's why I don't tend to tell it. And it's not so much, no, there was a lesson in it, but it's more just about how stupid I was. So, and then I stopped and I thought, what am I doing here? I had all this experience with kids before I had my own, and I still got tripped up this one time. So yeah. My son keeps hurting himself, biting himself, hitting his head on his 15 months. And you just have to physically intervene. The word no doesn't even mean much to a 15-month-old. Every time he does that, you physically intervene. If he's banging his head, and they do that. If they bang his head, get one of those foam helmets, okay? Put it on him. He'll start connecting the dots and realize, hey, if I don't bang my head, this doesn't have to go on my head, because they hate those things. So yeah, I've had clients who've used that. But yeah, you just have to be there all the time. Make sure there's not much you can bang his head on. Floor, you can't take the floor away. But it's just a stage. It's just a stage. They go through stage after stage after stage. Do you have experience with autistic children? Yes, I do, but I don't discuss that on here. This is all general parenting advice. General advice for ADHD, all that kind of stuff. But autism's different. Spectrum is different. So you'd have to hire me for coaching. That's the only place I discuss autism. But yeah, yeah, it's not just one session. The reason is I have to assess what you're doing, what did work, what does work, and what doesn't work. Then we try other stuff. The next session, we see what's stuck. So we throw mud at the wall, and then the next session, we see what sticks. Figure it out. It's a process. They're all so completely different. Oh, biting with a 1.5-year-old. No, you don't ignore that. Look at my toddlers who bite, hit, etc. It's a little bit young for that, but check that out. Yeah. I don't ignore anything aggressive ever. I still don't talk to them. It's physically, you just restrain them. Every time you say no, and then you physically restrain them and just ignore. Wait till they calm down, let them go, and they go for it again, then grab them again. They'll eventually learn. It's hard. All this stuff's hard. I did a video. What was that about? No, it wasn't the one. I posted it somewhere. I can't remember where. Anyway, just a second. What was it? Here it is. It's ready to go. It'll be posted tomorrow. How to stay calm around the crazy. So this is for parents who are going nuts because their kids are completely out of control. And then here's what I wrote, and it's in the video, but I also wrote in the description. It's how to stay calm when my kids are driving me nuts. And I wrote, I really can't help you with this, as that is simply your challenge. Have faith that the crazy is temporary while you're working on your leadership skills. So it's like dieting. People sometimes will say, well, how do I not be hungry when I'm dieting? Well, that's part of it. Like the hunger, the pain, the scenes, the craziness, it's all part of it. You have to just fake it till you make it, push through, and you're heading towards the end result. You got to go through the storm to get to the rainbow. It's just have faith in the end result, and you're aiming for that. But yeah, I can't help you with that. My clients always say, how do I stay calm? I say, I can't help you with that. That is your challenge, but have faith that what I'm teaching you will work eventually. Yeah. I don't have any idea what you mean by this. Does putting an 8-year-old child to bed by laying next to them as a routine take away from their independence? I don't know what you're asking me there. I don't get that. My 2-year-old's very energetic and hyperactive. How can I handle this? Yeah, you just got to feed that need. You meet their needs and manage their wants. When you go to the park, don't just push them on the swing. Have them run around the swing set. A lot of parents do that. They'll take them to the park and they say, oh my God, he's driving me nuts. He's so full of beans today. And then you'll push them on a swing. They're not doing anything. So yeah, think about it. Get them to, you're never going to wear a kid out, by the way, but you are meeting their needs a bit more by doing that. Someone actually said, they asked me this, I'm going to do a video on it. I haven't done it yet, and I've done videos on this before. They actually asked me, most of my videos are feeding off of your questions and comments. And someone said, how do you get where was it? Oh, shoot. Oh yeah. The question is, how do you teach a 2-year-old to focus? Well, after I stopped laughing, I thought, yeah, I'll do a video on that. You can't. How do you teach a 2-year-old to focus? Yeah, I don't know how to answer that. Yeah, you can get good at entertaining them and find stuff that they actually enjoy doing. But yeah, find out what they enjoy doing and then just keep providing that. They're all different. But to a 2-year-old to focus, the word focus is what threw me off. But I'll do a video on that. Okay. It's funny, I get a lot of people, and they're the same people. I don't tend to read, I can't get to all my comments and messages. But if I need new ideas for videos, I'll try and get through them. I do my best. I'm trying to get through them. But between TikTok and Instagram, it's really hard to do. Anyways, I get all these people saying, "You just don't know what you're talking about." That, and I always think to myself, how important do they think their opinion of me is? Like, as if I'm going to go, I don't know anything. I'm just going to quit my business after 17 years. And like, it just always strikes me as funny. Their heightened sense of their importance of their opinion is just, that's that entitlement. That's that sort of sense of entitlement. If I say something nasty, that's going to shut her right down. I'm like, yeah, it doesn't work that way. It just strikes me as funny. But that's that entitlement. You know, that's what that please your parent stuff raises, is that sense of entitlement. Well, how to correct an almost 3-year-old. Let's say he's 3. So he's hitting, and you say, hands are not for hitting, is not working. Well, of course not. Where's the consequence? That would be like if I went speeding past a cop and he said, not supposed to speed, I'd just keep going. Like, where's the consequence? We all live through consequences. We pay our rent or else we'll be kicked out. We pay our taxes or else we'll go to jail. You know, where's the consequence? Hands are not for hitting. Where is the consequence for that? You have to put them on the behavior board. Starts at the age of 3. Put down no hitting. If they hit, you always start with no hitting. That is their rule, and then have a consequence. That is the example that I have on the behavior board. If you want to check out the boot camp course, that goes into great detail about how you become a leader. But yeah, the behavior board's free. Just check that out. And where's the consequence? Hands are not for hitting, so freeways aren't for speeding. Well, I'm not going to get a ticket. I'm going to keep speeding. Like, you know, doesn't make any sense to me. If you don't do your job, you're going to get fired. If you see what I mean? Life is, if you eat a big cake every night, you're going to get obese. If you know what I'm saying? Like, life is full of, you have to be accountable. And it's the consequences that teach us that. I used to tell my kids, I said, if you're good, life is good. If you're bad, life ain't so good. I'll make sure that, because I'm your mom and that's my job. I'm guiding them into making good choices in life. So yeah. 6-year-old boy constantly doesn't follow simple directions. He usually says he forgot or didn't hear me. Am I expecting too much from him? Well, I don't know what you're asking of him, but let's assume you're being fair and reasonable and he's still just ignoring you. He just doesn't respect you. Work on your leadership skills. Remember, we're never fixing kids here. We're fixing and teaching parents. Check out my boot camp course. That's all about you and your leadership. You lead, they will follow. When they look up to you as a really good leader, they want to please you. You're like a best friend, a mentor. That's what that course is all about. Check it out. He just doesn't respect you. That's all that is. You have some great insights. I'm old and I've got lots of experience. It's just called wisdom. You know, I thought I had wisdom when I was young. It wasn't until I got old that I thought, oh, I get it now. You just are like, I don't know, it's just different. You just get it. If I haven't experienced it, I've seen it. Not everything, but a lot. So yeah, I've been doing this. I've been working with kids now for 52 years. I started volunteering in daycare centers when I was 11 years old. I just always had a knack for getting the best out of kids. And I just found them fascinating. I was always trying to figure them out. Oh, you don't have a consequence for not listening. No, that's like saying, putting on the behavior board, be wonderful. It's too general, too broad, too ridiculous. You got to put down something simple, an action usually. It's usually an action. So you start there and they will listen. Once you're a leader, they will listen. What you're doing is you're saying to me, how do I get my child to respect me? What do I give as a consequence for not respecting me? They don't respect if you're not a leader. You got to earn that. You got to work for that. You can't just command. You can't just demand respect. You got to command it. You got to earn it. You got to work for it. Set yourself up as a leader and they listen. It's a byproduct of your leadership. They just do. So you don't punish your child because you're not a leader. Does that make sense? They're just not listening because you're not leading. You lead, they will follow. All children need, crave, and want a leader. It's a basic instinct. They need someone to follow. And if you don't provide that leadership for them, you're going to send them out in the world very vulnerable. They're going to be very susceptible to peer pressure, bullying, the drug dealer on the corner, the internet, the Kardashians. They're going to be extremely vulnerable. They're going to look for a leader elsewhere because they don't have one at home. When they've got one at home, they come and tell you everything right through the teen years. because you're a safe place to land. My daughter, 3 years old, often growls in frustration. So why would you give that any attention? How do I discourage this behavior? Uh, she, she's only doing it to get attention. That's my gut reaction. I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. Yeah, just ignore it. Sounds like you're afraid of her. Because if that growling, she's testing you. Like, is this bothering you? Obviously it is. I'm going to keep doing it. So that's sort of what, at 3 years old, they can stop and think and put that together. Best way to get rid of a binky with a toddler. A binky is that a dummy or a soother, or is it just something that they hold on to in like a little blanket? I never know what a binky is because I've lived in Australia and Canada and people call different things binkies. So is it a blanket or is it a soother, pacifier, dummy? Is that what it is? You have to let me know. Black Friday deals. No, I'm not. No, it's all over. Black Friday deals. I never understand. I didn't actually do it. Someone else did it for me because I don't understand Black Friday. So I thought it was just one day, but evidently Black Friday sales go from Friday till Monday, and today's Tuesday. So yeah, it's over. I don't do a lot of my own stuff. I do all the video. This is all me, but the back end stuff, I don't know what I'm doing. I just follow orders. Is it okay to lay with your young kids at bedtime? Is that a comfort, want, or need? If you like it, that's fine. It's like co-sleeping, breastfeeding till they're 8 years old, homeschool. Did I already say homeschooling? Anyway, no, I didn't. Oh, that's personal choice. If it's working for you and you like it, keep doing it. I don't have an opinion on that. If you like it and it's working, then keep doing it. If you don't like it, then you might want to check out my bedtime battles course if you're going to struggle to stop doing it. A lot of the exact same questions. That's why I'm scrolling through because people come and go in lives, and there's a lot of the same questions. Though that's why if I'm not answering your question, it's just like answered that, or there's so many of them. Oh, and then self-harming. A toddler who self-harms when they get upset, you physically restrain them. You just say no, and you just hold them, prevent them from hurting themselves, hurting someone else, or damaging property. So you just physically restrain them, but you still don't talk to them or look at them. You just look away. They'll eventually learn. They're going to go. It's going to get worse before it gets better. Because when you hold them down, you hold an alligator down, they're going to fight back. And that's okay. Don't be afraid of that. If you're afraid of that, they're in charge. Whereas to me, it's like, bring it on. That's behind every scene is a lesson, and I know that. So long as I'm very firm with what I'm doing, and I know what I'm doing, so I take charge. There's no way I'd allow a child to hurt themselves. So I would physically restrain them. They can fight back and scream as much as they want. It's like, I look like I'm waiting for a bus. I'm just holding them, looking away, just waiting. Remember, they're watching you. They're not listening to you. They're watching you. So if you're really calm and you look like you really know what you're doing and you can't be manipulated, you have no fear, they're going to start to respect you. It's just the way it is. And they love that. They love that. They love a leader. Do you know what? The most difficult kids I've ever worked with, the ones where the teacher or whoever said to me, good luck with this one, those were the quickest for me to turn around and get respect from. Do you know why? Because when they come up against a calm leader, maybe for the first time in their life, they go like this, finally. They just relax into it. Children need, crave, and want a leader. And a lot of it is fun. You want to connect with them and bond with them. The discipline's a tiny part of it. The most important thing that you do with kids is you bond with them and connect with them. But everyone asks me about discipline, so that's why I try. In coaching, it's a lot less disciplining and a lot more bonding in coach and connecting with them. Okay, so you got a 4-year-old who's hitting when he gets mad. So in other words, he doesn't like what's happening, so he just gets violent. Put on the behavior board, no hurting other people, and no throwing stuff. And just that's the rule. And every time he does, there's a consequence. So check out the behavior board. It's free and above. But if he's got at 4 years old, if he's still doing that, that's kind of next level by the age of 4. You might want to check out the boot camp course or even hire me for that. Because that's he's gone to next level. At 4, he shouldn't be doing that. 2.5, yeah. 3 maybe, but not at 4. You shouldn't be doing that. So you wanna get that sorted out as soon as possible. Yeah, I don't quite know what's going on here. During a tantrum today, my 3-year-old said, through crying, I need comfort. She was kicking her sister repeatedly and reacted to my boundary removing her. It was heartbreaking, but I held the boundary. How did that go? Did that work? Did she get the idea? Like, she's in charge. Okay, comforting now. Now, sounds like she's got her way a lot in the past. To speak like that at 3, she's kind of in charge, right? Yeah. And what I would do is I'd say, okay, fine. And I just go pat her on the back and then go about my business. So yeah, you take charge. The thing is, you meet their needs and manage their wants. A lot of parents aren't meeting their needs. All they're doing is disciplining. When I was working with kids, I never got an easy kid to work with. I was focused on having fun with them. That was my main goal. My focus was the good kid, bringing that out in them, bringing out the best in them. The discipline was a very tiny part of it. I focused on the good kid. They liked themselves. Their self-esteem went up when they were with me. They were proud of themselves. Then they wanted to please me. That was my talent. I was good at it. And even with teenagers, that was my thing. I was good at it. So you want to bring out the best in them. It's not just all disciplining all the time. Focus on the good kid, the discipline, get it over with. You deal with bad behavior, but you focus on the good kid. I've done a lot of videos on that. I'll do another one. Just a sec, focus on the good kid. So I got to write this down or else I'll forget. Focus on the good kid, but don't ignore bad behavior, but focus on the good kid. That's better. Don't ignore bad behavior, but focus on the good kid. I don't want to go on about that too much because it's such a spiel. Like it's a lot to explain what I mean by that, or should I? Okay. Whenever I was working with kids, and like I said, I never got an easy kid to work with. They were usually alphabet kids. They had ADHD, WXYZ, whatever after their names. And I worked my butt off trying to find a good in them. I was always like a heat-seeking missile looking for the good in them. And I focused, oh, you like soccer? Oh, you like soccer? Okay, tell me all about it, blah, 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 blah. Was always focused. And then they started bonding with me and they started feeling good about themselves. They're much less likely to be disrespectful once you get that bond going. Oh, soccer. Oh, you'll probably be a champ one day. Do you think they'd be disrespectful to someone who did that for them? Does that make sense? That was what I was good at. That was what made all this work. The discipline is a tiny part of it. Very tiny. Like I can't even explain how minuscule the discipline is. But yeah, I just focused on the good. And I needed a microscope sometimes, I'll tell you, but I always found it. I remember once I was working with a teenager. He was vile. But I knew he had a sense of humor. I can't tell you why. I often talk about this in coaching. But anyway, I took a lot of liberty with trying to get the best out of these teenagers. It was tricky. So I said to him one day, and I was new with him, and I said, I got to find something to like about you. And I'll be honest, I said, you're quite vile. I can't find anything likable. And he actually laughed, and that was it. He had a sense of humor. And I already knew that. I would never have said that if I didn't already know he would have laughed at that. But you got to find the good. You got to find something positive to focus on with your kids. Bring that out in them, and they are far less likely to be disrespectful when you bring out the best in them. Does that make sense? I don't know what Instagram does. Does that make sense? Am I resonating with that? Do you wave here on Instagram? Is that how it's done? Like to show support for what I just said? Does that make sense? Good, okay. Yeah. Good, okay, good. Because all I ever talk about is discipline on here. And it's funny because when I'm coaching people, they say, you barely even talk about discipline in coaching. And I say, I know, it's a very tiny part of it. It's mostly about connecting with your children. And I just don't know how to focus on that in lives because all I ever get asked is how you discipline. But that's my fault. That's my fault. Because of course you're going to ask me how you correct bad behavior. But that's my fault. I got to figure out a way to twist that around more. Yeah, I haven't been doing a very good job with that. Yeah, I'll figure that out. Anyway, I'm going to be moving over to TikTok now. If you want to join me over there, I'll do 30 minutes there because I just did 30 minutes on Instagram. I do my best. I actually got a better system in place to try and answer messages and and comments. But you'll notice what I do when I answer messages, because I can't give everyone big answers every time I answer a message. I will just say I'll do a video on that. But if I've already said that to 20 other people, I won't even answer your messages. If other, you know what I'm saying? So I am trying to read them all, but I don't necessarily answer them because I can't just go in and give you all this free advice all day for 6 hours a day. I just can't, that wouldn't be a business, right? So I just can't do that. So, but what I'm trying to do is I am trying to get through them all. So just because I don't answer you doesn't mean, and I might not see it though, because I get hundreds of them. It's really difficult. So I'm getting a better system in place to do that. The comments are another thing. I'm trying to look at those too, but doing the best I can. Okay, so I got to move over to TikTok now. If you want to join me over there, we'll see you there. If not, go to the link above. All my courses, my free behavior board, my coaching, it's all on the link above. Sorry, YouTube, I'm just moving over to TikTok now. And that, and the live, and go. Okay, just waiting now. Okay, a switcheroo system for books or toys. Yeah, I did it with books too. Yeah, I switched those around. I don't always do that. I didn't have a lot of books with my kids, but if they did get a lot of books, then I would switch the books around too. But usually I read the books to them, so it didn't really matter. They weren't kids to pull books out. It was that was something we did together at night. So, but yeah, if you have tons and tons of books, I would switch those around too. Okay, I was just answering a question in YouTube. I was just on Instagram, so you might have come from over there. This is my regularly scheduled live. I will be changing them. They'll be at 5 from now on. So anyway, you'll see after this live, I'm going to change the dates, because what I realized was I'm taking up my whole evening when I do it this late. Whereas if I do it around dinner time, I've still got my day and my night. So yeah, I'm going to change the time. So it'll be the same time as it is on Thursday. So I'm just going to change it in the bio later on. I don't feel like I even said that right. Anyway. Okay, let's get going with your parenting questions. In the meantime, you can check out the link above. That's where all my courses are, my free behavior board, and my coaching information is all up there. Okay, I just did a big spiel on, you probably just came over from Instagram, right? I just did a big spiel on how, I'm just here answering questions about disciplining. And it sort of comes across like that's what I'm all about, is disciplining kids, which couldn't be farther from the truth. Discipline is such a tiny part of what I always did with kids. My focus, my gift with kids, I was good with kids. My gift with kids was connecting with them. When you get really good at bringing out the best in kids, making them feel good about themselves, they would be embarrassed to be rude to you. That's what leadership's all about. You become like a mentor, someone they look up to, someone that brings out the best in them, makes them like themselves. They have a voice. They can tell you anything. They have high self-esteem. They would never be rude to you. This is past the age of 3, not toddlers. They're crazy anyway. But yeah, that's what I'm all about. I'm all about connecting with kids, and then you bring out the best in them, and they would be embarrassed to be rude to you. That's what leadership's all about. My kids just would never have been rude to me. It just wouldn't have happened. Yeah. Teenagers, my son went through a bit of a stage, absolutely. But even then it was nothing big. But I remember one morning, he was just turned 15, and we were like best buddies, funniest guy in the world, best buddies. Every morning I'd say, "Morning, sweetie," and he'd go, "Morning, Mom." He had the crackling voice and everything. And one day I got up and he was just turned 15. I said, "Morning, sweetie." He turned around, he went, "Morning, Mom." He'd like turned into a man overnight. It was bizarre. Yeah, it was just bizarre. It was like that. He gained 6 inches in height in 6 months, started growing a beard, voice lowered. It was just bizarre how fast it all happened. My son was 15 and he said to me, he says, "You've been a difficult mom." And I was shocked. And he was serious too. And I said, "What?" I thought it was great. We were really close. And I said, "What?" And he says, "Because I can never rebel. You're too reasonable and easy to talk to." Sorry. I don't think I said that. But anyway, so I said, "Fine, go clean your room." And he never did. Rebellion taken care of. But that's what you want with teenagers. They have nothing to rebel against because you're reasonable and easy to talk to. That's what you want. That's your power with teenagers, is be a really good listener. Anyway, okay. Okay, 3-year-old is rude, never okay, so your 3-year-old just has no respect for you whatsoever. You gotta work for that, you gotta earn that. Set yourself up as a leader, and that will not happen. Look at my boot camp course, it teaches you how to be a leader in 5 weeks. It's all about you, it's all about your leadership skills, okay? Yeah, that just is a tell. It just means they don't respect you. So remember, we're never fixing kids here, we're fixing and teaching parents. They're always gonna be rude to you if you're not a leader. They're always gonna be rude to you. It's not them, it's you. You're not leading. When you lead, they will follow. It's just the way it is. When you're a good leader, they want to please you from the age of 3 to 12. After that, they just don't want to disappoint you. And toddlers are crazy anyway, so leadership doesn't really kick in until about 3. You're starting to do it, but yeah. Okay, oh, you got lots of problems here. Mama, okay, we've had to pull from public school, now homeschool. It's hard. Many days, hope to learn lots. Yeah. If you want to hire me, it sounds like you're really struggling. You might want to check into coaching if you can swing it. But yeah, that would be 5 sessions. Check that out. But yeah, I work with lots of parents who go through. I specialize in teen crisis work, and yeah, it's all fixable, or pretty much. You can improve on anything. So a lot of parents think, well, it's teenagers, it's too late. No, that's my specialty, is teenagers. Yeah, it's never too late to improve things. Oh, you got a teenager in here. Do you have any questions? Because most of it's toddler stuff on TikTok and Instagram. So if you have any questions, but I'll read my 3 top tips for parenting teenagers. Teenagers are my favorite age. Because when you've got that mutual respect, they're just a joy. Like, because they're so interesting. You can talk to them, and like they're smart as a whip. Anyway, they're my favorite age. Okay, 3 top tips for parenting teenagers. Number 1 is listen to understand and show empathy. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with. If they want your advice, they'll ask for it. And by the way, they already know it. Number 2 is you negotiate pretty much everything. You might say something like this: I want your dirty clothes in the hamper from now on. What do you want from me? Let's start the negotiations. Okay, you can have fun with that. It's not serious, it's supposed to be fun. Number 3 is don't sweat the small stuff. Save your energy for the big stuff. You might not even need it if you get the leadership in place anyway. So yeah, don't sweat the small stuff. They're allowed to make mistakes. If they do something stupid and it's not a big deal, I would say, well, that was stupid. Wait till you hear what I did when I was your age. Like, it's okay to make mistakes. We all learn through mistakes, right? That's my 3 top tips for parenting teenagers. Actually, when people hire me, if they're really struggling with their teenagers, they usually are not happy with me in the first session. I have to ask you to do some stuff that you're not going to want to do. Like, you got to break down their defenses, and the teenagers' defenses. So, and the parents often argue with me. And then I always say, don't waste your money. Just do what I'm telling you to do, because it's got to be done. We got to do some pre-work before we can really get to the nitty gritty. But yeah, teenagers are, yeah, you're never going to outsmart a teenager. They're always going to be smarter than us. I'm 63, half my brain's dead by now. Teenagers, they're all fresh and their brain is just firing off. I mean, you're never going to outsmart them. So don't even try. But you just know how to get respect, mutual respect. You got to give it to get it, though. That's the problem, is parents say, well, why should I do that for my teenager who treats me like crap? And I say, because you got to. You're the parent. You got to take the high road. And it's a struggle sometimes. Parents really struggle with this. It works. Okay. Ba, 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 ba. Okay, thanks, I am. I am's a real regular on here. Guys, she can't keep up with multiple comments. If you need more room, try and go to YouTube. Yeah, YouTube, I can't, if it's really big, I don't even have time to answer sometimes. Um, okay, interesting. I don't know what Lauren's talking about on there, on YouTube. I'm just going to read this out. Lauren said on YouTube, regarding apologizing, should they still say it's all my fault even if it wasn't all their fault? Well, why are they apologizing if it's not their fault? I don't understand that. So you have to maybe explain that to me. Why are they apologizing if it's not their fault? That's going to bug me now. Okay, never mind. How do you feel about social media and teens? Well, yeah, I think it's great. It's like asking 50 years ago, how do you feel about rock and roll and teenagers? I mean, I think social media is fantastic. It's a way of connecting. The thing is that they're not taught that most people online, especially if you don't do live video chats, I always used to tell my kids, if you're chatting to someone online and you don't do a live video with them, assume it's a dirty old man sitting there in his underwear. Yeah. So it's the fact that they're not they don't really know what's going on out there. So I really educated my kids on what's going on out there. And I've actually literally was involved in a sting operation with a kid that was tried to run away with someone they met online. Never saw a live video. Sure enough, it was a dirty old man waiting for her at the bus stop. And it was a cop that had been on the bus. And they caught this guy. He was in jail after that. So yeah, it's educate them on what online is all about. And it's like anything else. It's safe. I think social media is wonderful. I'm on here now. I love it. So yeah, it can be misused. It's like, how do you feel about teens in cars? Fine if they drive safely. If they don't, it's trouble. Social media is wonderful as long as they drive carefully on here, right? It's like anything else. One thing that I've talked about, both kids need something they need to apologize. Okay, let me do a video on that one. That's a good point, actually. So this was Lauren on YouTube. Oh, sugar, just a sec here. Sorry, that's my swear word. I used to work with kids. Okay. Should I get them to apologize if it's not all their fault? I'm gonna reword that, but I'll do a video. Should I get them to apologize if it's not all their fault? Not necessarily, and I'll do a video on it, but I don't want to give it away right now because I want to think it through. Sometimes I have to think stuff through. I don't normally, but I want to think of the best way to explain how I feel about that. Okay, sorry. Girl, you look so stunning. So I had to read that out because it just was nice. I'm 63. You don't get a lot of comments at this age. Compliments. Okay. Not that it matters anyway. You get old, you don't care about that stuff as much anymore. Okay. Where is the line with toddler, normal, not capable processing, and they get it? Jeez, Lou. Where is the line with toddler, normal, not processing, capable, and they get it? I don't know what you mean by that. I don't know what you mean by that. Sorry. Oh, you already asked me this somewhere. Was it or someone did anyway, the exact ages of this. My two daughters, 4 and 6, are fighting at each other all the time. How can I help them to solve it? I think I wrote that down for a video. Let me just check. It's funny, it was the exact same age. They fight all the time. Okay, how do you get your kids to bond? How do you get siblings to bond? Here's what I did with my kids. They were a boy and a girl 5 years apart. What did they have in common? But one thing that we did a lot of was we did a lot of silly stuff together, and they bonded over laughing at mom and just laughing together. We never played anything competitive. We always just did silly stuff, like really silly games. We'd do the Olympics at home and I don't really want to tell you all the stuff we did. It's so stupid. I talk about it a lot in coaching. It's just, it takes a while to explain, but it was a lot of just silly stuff that we did. And then we all laughed together. And like, I didn't do a lot of one-on-one. If you want to bond with your kids and have them bond with each other, then you do stuff together, and don't make it anything competitive where there's a winner and a loser. You just take turns, maybe acting out. We used to act out Ace Ventura scenes, and my daughter and I were horrible at it. My son was great at it. So we'd laugh at it. We used to call them make mommy laugh nights. So we'd act out Ace Ventura scenes, the three of us. We were just insane. And then they ended up being called Make Mommy Pee nights, because by the end of it, I was laughing so hard I'd run down the hall holding myself while I was peeing my pants. I was laughing so hard. So, and then they bonded over that, you see? So yeah, don't when you play together, don't play Monopoly or any of that stuff. There's always one winner. In the first round, you know who's going to win the whole game. And then that just does not encourage, sibling affection. So yeah. Start bonding with them, doing silly stuff all as a whole, and they'll start to get closer and less fighting. That's the positive way. There's also the disciplinary stuff. If you want to know about that, I'll tell you too. Okay. How did you like your 5-year age gap? That was not planned. I actually had back surgery and a miscarriage in between my two kids. So it wasn't planned, but yeah, I actually really liked it, and I'll tell you why. My son started grade 1 when my daughter was born. So I had 5 years just with him, and it was wonderful, just bonding and chatting and doing fun stuff together. And then he was in school, and I had all that time with her. So I actually really liked it. And I didn't plan it out that way, but I liked it. But I don't think there is any perfect age. The only thing I've heard that's pretty consistent, and they've actually done studies on it, is when their age gap is 7 years or more, they don't tend to act as siblings growing up anyway. Like my brother and I are like 16 years apart. We were both kind of only children because it's not like we were fighting over Barbie dolls. I grew up in a house full of three adults. So yeah, they say that 7 years is when it doesn't mean it's a bad gap. It just means they don't tend to relate as siblings when it's seven or over. That's what I've heard. That makes sense to me. So, oh boy, you use big words. I can't handle that. Okay. My son is ADHD, he's 4, ADHD, ODD, and but well, ODD isn't really a thing. It's just oppositional defiance disorder. It's just a bunch of words thrown together to give it a name. Doctors have told me that. It's not a medical diagnosis. ADHD is. And this is where I learned all this stuff, okay? So it's just about, so for, yeah, I don't know what you mean by struggling with it, because I worked with all those kids, so I don't know what you mean by struggling with it. And they're all a little bit different. Some of them are more hyper than others. Others really struggle to pay attention. So yeah, I don't know what you mean by struggling. Anyway, if you're working on your leadership skills, the boot camp course would be perfect for you. It's all about teaching you how to be a leader. We're bilingual. Good for you. Geez, I wish I could do that. And have a 2-year-old that doesn't speak as much as she should be. Should I be concerned? Well, is there really they should be. I've known kids who didn't talk till they were 3, and then they never shut up. They just form full sentences. And so I don't know. I can't comment on that. I'm not a doctor. If you're really concerned, go to a pediatrician or something. But yeah, they don't all talk early. Some of them don't talk till they're 3. So yeah, most of my siblings are 8 to 30 years older than me. Definitely agree the dynamic changes. Yeah, it just does. Like I said, my 16-year-older brother wasn't fighting over Barbies with me. I mean, so yeah, I was like an only child, as was he, really growing up. Which, I remember once he drove me to school, and he would have been like in his 20s, and he drove me to school, and everyone thought that was my dad. Okay. About the language, the bilingual, someone answered, stick to one language if you suspect language delay. I have clients from all over the world, and a lot of them don't do that and don't have a problem with it, and some do. So there's no perfect answer to that. But are you concerned? Like, if you're concerned, then maybe go to one. If not, then just stick with 2. But there's no perfect answer. My kids are 34 and 29, and I've got a granddaughter due in a couple of weeks. Actually, I think 27 days. Yeah, my first grandchild. So yeah, my kids are all grown and gone, all done. I miss it. Parenting was the most fun I ever had. It was fun because I got all that pesky discipline out of the way, and we could just be friends and have fun. It was great. Yeah. Okay. You could talk about this till you're blue in the face because it's more of a personal choice. Like you said, actually teaching them 2 languages is best for them. We have our daughter to speech therapy. I've worked with people who've had kids who speak 4 and 5 languages, like when they're older. So yeah, and I don't. It's just a personal opinion. Like I don't think there's no sort of jury out on that. Like what's the best thing to do? You got to do what feels right for you and your child. A lot of stuff's like that. Actually, everything's like that. You do what feels right for you and your child. My toddler wouldn't listen to teachers or myself in a group class. And well, what do you mean by toddler? And what are they in a group class as a toddler? To me, a toddler is under the age of 3. So they're 35 months and under. 16 to 35 months is what I consider a toddler. So my son's extremely defiant, 4 years old. Just work on your leadership skills. It's okay that they've got a strong personality. There's nothing wrong with that. You just want to teach them to make good choices. When they respect you, they want to please you, and they'd be too embarrassed to be rude to you. So that's what leadership's all about. It's about connecting with them, being fun, getting respect. And once you've got that leadership cemented, everything else falls into place. Anyway, check out the boot camp course. That's all about teaching you how to be a leader. That course, when I first wrote that out, it was gigantic. All the courses I have, they were twice the size. And I cut them all in half because they were so overwhelming. I get like blathering on about stuff and I just cut them all in half. So that course is just very streamlined, 5 weeks teaching you how to get respect. I didn't throw all the extra stuff in there because I took it all out. God, I can blather on about stuff. How much is it? It's $197, the boot camp course. Normal for 23-month-old to start showing lots of negative emotions. So I mean, they don't get their own way and they get mad about it. I don't know. I can't judge that. I'd have to assess the situation. Some of them do. So I don't know what you mean by a lot and what you mean by negative emotions. So they get mad when they don't get their own way. Yeah, sometimes that happens. How do I be firm but not yell? Well, I've never yelled. I was never yelled at either. I've done a lot of videos on yelling, but I haven't done one for quite some time. I might do that again. Okay, just a sec. I'm going to write it down. Yelling. I'll do a video on that. I haven't done a yelling video. It was one of my very first videos was yelling. That one, I think it might even be at the top of my TikTok. I think it was one of my, it went viral and I think I took it down though. I got bored with looking at it. But it was a good video. So if you just look up Bratbusters yelling, there'll be lots of videos on that. We've seen behavior therapists, SLP, doctors, everyone says he's normal. What son is aggressive, foul language, is almost 5 years old. Okay, I don't know what's going on there. I'd have to assess the situation. If you want me to work with you, I deal with parent-child relationships. So if they're saying he's normal, he's just very aggressive and severe foul language, etc. So yeah, I would work on the parent-child relationship. So if you want to work with me, that's next level. You'd have to hire me for that. I would suggest 5 sessions, maybe 3. Try 3, and then we can always upgrade to 5 if you need it. Do you have any books or on? No, I don't. I've never written a book, and I don't recommend any books because I've never read one. I'm only experience-based. Everything I teach is from what I've done with kids. So throughout my 52 years of working with kids, I didn't learn much with my own kids. I did learn how to live with teenagers. And there's 2 things that if you're going to take parenting advice from someone or buy a book or whatever from someone about parenting, they have to have these 2 criteria, these 2 credentials. They have to have finished the job with their own kids. If they haven't finished the job with their own kids, it would be like taking financial advice from someone with $10 in the bank. How do they know if what they're doing when they're 5 is going to work when they're 15 or if it's going to even set them straight? A lot of what's done with younger children builds resentment in the teen years. I see it coming and I think, oh, they're in big trouble. But anyway, so yeah, they have to, the person writing the book or teaching the course, whatever, they have to have finished the job with their own children. The other one is they have to have experience with hundreds of other kids. How can you talk about kids? Mine were quite easy. So how could I possibly teach all this stuff if I hadn't worked with hundreds of kids with all sorts of challenges? I never worked with an easy kid, not once, not ever. No one ever said to me, here's an easy one, Lisa. They always went, good luck with this one. So I was always handed the difficult kids. That was my specialty. I was good at getting the best out of difficult kids. That's where I learned all this. So those are the 2 criteria. I'm sure there's lots of other people out there with that experience base. It's all experience based. A lot of my clients are teachers, principals, child psychologists. They have a lot of credentials, but they don't have that experience. It is experience based because parenting is not like any other relationship. It's personal. That's why it's not that my clients with all this child development training, it's not that they're struggling more than anybody else, but they want to get it right. They're perfectionists and they're learners. Okay. So, and they identify that experience is really it's experience based. It just is. Oops. Okay, now as a continuation, it's hard for me to go back and find, because I get a lot of, here, okay, normal 23-month-old to start showing lots of negative, oh, that one, okay. Okay, and then you continued on and said, like, he's always had a low temperament, but is now getting upset. Okay, so in other words, low, you mean calm? He's just finding his own. You know, when they turn 3, if you're not a leader, that's when the poop hits the fan. They go, you know what? You're not a leader. I think I will be. Okay, if they've got that tendency. Not all kids have that tendency. But yeah, 3, maybe he's just finding his own. He's finding himself. Maybe he's just looking at you thinking, hey, wait a minute. You let me get away with a lot. I think I'll see how much more I can get away with. By the way, when you're a leader, it tends to calm them down. Children don't want to lead. They just go for it because it's fun or whatever. It's a challenge. But yeah, they don't want to lead. They want you to lead. They just do. Every teenager I've ever worked with that's gone awry has said to me, I wish my parents had been tougher on me growing up. They don't want it now, but they identify that discipline is love. They just get it. Discipline is love your kids enough to bring out the best in them, not the worst. Don't put up with the worst. Work to get the best. Children want discipline and routine. Yeah, they just do. They want direction. They want leadership. They want someone to look up to. They're children. People say, well, they should be their own people. They're just the same as us. And that's bull crap. Children are little. They're forming. They're brand new human beings. They need someone to look up to. They need a mentor. They need someone to lead them. I think one of the biggest compliments I ever got in when I was working with kids. Yeah, this is the biggest compliment I ever got. The thing that I thought, wow, that was amazing, was I used to mentor troubled teens. And one of them said to me once, he said, I never liked myself until I met you. Wow. Now, that's what leadership does. It brings out the best in them. It makes them like themselves. And when you are the person that brings that out in them, would they ever be rude to you? No. Why would it would be embarrassing? They'd be ashamed of themselves to treat you like crap if you bring out that in them. I'm not talking about toddlers here, by the way. Toddlers are crazy already. This starts to work at around 3. It starts to work. How do you help a teen that has anger issues, possible BPD? Bipolar, yeah. Well, I can't answer that because I have to know what kind of parent you are, what's the history, what's going on at home, who lives at home, what are their friends like, what are their habits like, are they online? If they're online, what are they doing? I'd have to assess the whole situation. I don't have a teenage course yet. You know why? Because every single family I talk to with teenagers, it's different advice for every single one of them. How the heck would I streamline that into a course? Maybe one day I'll figure it out and make it general. But most parents who have teenagers, if it's just general advice, they don't tend to want a course anyway. They're doing just fine. It's the crisis stuff. That's when they hire me. It's when things are really in trouble. So that's all coaching right now. If you want to hire me to work with you and assess the situation, find out why he has anger issues, because those are all the teenagers I worked with, right? Turns out they didn't have anger issues. They just hadn't met a leader yet, someone that brought out the best in them. That's not true. Sometimes they have a lot to be angry over, but you still have to learn how to work that through with them. Anyway, so yeah, check out the coaching. It's in the link above if you want to work with me. How do you deal with different parenting styles between siblings when they go over at grandma's house? Okay, when you're dropping your kids off with someone else, don't micromanage them. That if you trust someone enough to look after your kids, don't tell them what to do with your kids. Like with my kids, I got a grandchild due soon, and I've always told my kids, I said, none of my business how you parent, and I mean that. I don't care. That's none of my business. I never told a friend what to do with their kids or anything. It's none of my business, and I certainly won't tell my kids because I think that's kind of mean, telling your kids that they're doing a bad job. Anyway, so none of my business. But when they're at grandma's house and I'm babysitting, grandma's rules. So yeah, don't tell them what to do. The kids adapt to that past the age of 3 and 3.5. They tend to adapt very well to that, to having different styles. But by 3.5, especially by 4, if you're a really good leader, they carry your leadership umbrella everywhere. So if grandma tried to give them something they knew the leader wouldn't want, they would say, no, mom wouldn't want that. Like when my husband would take the kids out without me, and he would try and give them something they knew I wouldn't like, they'd say, no, mom wouldn't like that. So they tend to carry your leadership umbrella everywhere. But yeah, don't tell other people how to deal with your children. I just don't agree with that. And then if you trust them enough to look after them, don't tell them how to do it. Unless it's something really bad that they're doing. Like I would never tell a teacher how to treat my kids or anything. That's not true. When my kids started grade 1, I told the teacher, I said, if my kids ever step a toe out of line, never discipline them. That's my job. I'll do it. Like I didn't want the teacher to have to put up with that. And I never got a call. They never did anything. But yeah, that's my job. Teachers love me. But yeah, that's my job, to send well-behaved children to school. That was my job. But yeah, I would never tell a teacher what to do. I used to sit in the back of class and be a support for the teacher. And I saw stuff that I thought, yeah, I wasn't thrilled with that, but I would never say anything. I don't know anything about teaching. That's none of my business. So yeah, don't tell other people how to deal with your kids. Unless it's something awful. Separation anxiety. I actually have a video coming up on that. It's on my gigantic list here. I know I wrote it down. Yep, separation anxiety. I'll have a video coming up on that. And then also, oh, right, I was going to do yelling too. So anyway, I've been on here for a half hour now. I did a half hour on Instagram and a half hour on TikTok. I'm going to be changing the times. Thursday night is going to also apply to Tuesday night. So just because I realized if I'm doing these late ones, that's my whole evening. Like at 7:30 now, it's my whole evening. So I'm going to be doing the earlier ones. So I've still got my night. You know what I mean? Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. Check out the link above for my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, and my coaching. And thanks so much for joining me. We'll talk again soon. Bye now. Lauren, I did like that one. I'm definitely going to do a video on that. That was very good. Thank you.